Hi, and welcome to a very special Coworking, a podcast about what makes Coworking special. And this month, we're welcoming Melanie from WorkHub in Switzerland. We met through a friend in common on LinkedIn. So if you are on LinkedIn, you might have some LinkedIn friends you have never met in real life. They know people, and the friend of your friend is your friend. And that's what happened with Melanie. We met through Pauline Russell from Coworkers. And that's how we got to know each other and talk about her space. I really like what she's doing there. We're going to talk about that later on. First of all, Melanie, thank you so much for being here with us this month.
Thanks for having me. I'm very happy to be here on the podcast and to have that exchange with you, Fanny, because I think it's going to be a fun time.
It's always super fun to have two people who love the same thing talk about the things they love. It's only love.
Love is all you need.
Ooh, nice, I like that. First of all, when did it start? How long have you been doing the WorkHub?
So the WorkHub first opened in 2017. So it's going to be 8 years this year. But I've been talking about co-working. I've been starting getting information about co-working 10 years ago already. So 2015 was my first introduction to co-working.
And how did it happen? Did you go to a co-working space or did someone talk to you about it? What was your first contact with co-working's industry?
Well, actually, that it's kind of easier. It was I was at the end of a job and I didn't know what I was going to do in my life. And a friend of mine had a little company and he was sharing an office with two other independents and he offered me a spot. And I really didn't know what I was going to do as work and I was pregnant, but I decided I'm going to take an office because at least I can get out of home. And at the beginning, it was really a shared space with three other independents. I always like to tell that story is because I was paying a monthly fee, but I hardly went to the office because I had a little baby at home already. So I didn't work and I didn't work. So I only got there like to pay my invoices and to do my own admin. So in the end, during the whole year, I probably spent 10 days or 12 days in the office, but I was paying a monthly fee. So in the end, my co-working day average price was like 500 francs. So the most expensive co-working ever. But
I'm sure there's more.
Yeah, maybe. The good thing is it made me understand how you are as an independent, feeling alone and understanding how you can share space. And then I got to know that it was actually something that is already existing across the world, that the name is co-working. And then I ended up going to the 2015 co-working conference. I think it was in Brussels, the European conference. And that was my first step into co-working, even before I opened a space, really, when I thought about, okay, this is what I like, because I love people and I love exchanges. And I felt that I could be impactful for my community by creating a co-working space. And that's how it started, basically. So an office that I never went to with a couple of other independents that are still friends. And the funny thing is, one of the guy I had replaced that had left his space has now opened another co-working space, like really close to our lives. It really is the start of the co-working on our region.
Yeah, I guess at that time, there wasn't, maybe 10 years ago, I'm thinking, was there already many co-workings in your surrounding? Or?
No, I started looking into it. And I come from Vevey, that's on the lakeshore of the Lake of Geneva. And it's a town of 20,000 inhabitants. So it's relatively small. Spaces existing in Lausanne, which is the biggest city, Geneva, and Fribourg. And I went to see the owner of those co-working space to discuss and exchange and understand what it is, how it is, what you do, etc. But it was not, I tend to call myself, when I'm very bad, I say come from a rural area, but it's not rural, it's like suburban, and it's still relatively small for Switzerland because we're not that developed in co-working spaces. But 10 years ago was really almost pioneering. And yeah.
Baby stage.
Yes, very early stage of the co-working.
Now you open your own co-working, not in one of those big cities you mentioned just now, but in a smaller town.
Yeah, exactly. So we are based in Vevey. Vevey is a town. It's a city for Switzerland because we have different views. And it's mainly known, one of the reasons why Vevey is known is the headquarters of Nestle worldwide, the consumer goods Nestle. So they have their headquarters here. And that's one of the reasons why Vevey is quite dynamic, because of this big corporate that is located in the town.
Yeah, it's crazy how it can change landscape. A friend is living somewhere in Germany, near Munich, and it's a small town for Germany, but they have 3 big headquarters of international companies.
Yeah.
And so the rent is really expensive
Yeah.
because of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the landscape. So you started there. Why there specifically? Because you were living nearby, or was there no specific opportunities there?
I was born. It's my city. It's my community. It's where I know people. Yeah, and it's close to home. So in the end, walk to work, and that's one of the reasons. So I really wanted it to be in my city, because it's even though when I started, it was not that easy. It's not because I know a lot of people that I had a lot of coworkers from the start, because it was still the early stages of coworking. It was not that easy to get people to understand the concept. So frankly speaking, the first 3 years, 2017 to 2020, basically to COVID time, it was not the easiest time. I had a small community. I had a few coworkers. It covers the cost, but it clearly didn't cover any salary, but at least I wasn't paying for the co-working. But it helped me to start to build the brand. And on top of that, I was working as an independent on different subjects and projects. So, that was my main revenue. And then it helped me start slowly to build up the space. And after 2 years, I actually opened the second space in Bulle. And Bulle, it's a town, it's half an hour drive from Vevey. It's really even more rural. It's lost in the...
It's not a suburb anymore. It's plenty rural.
Yeah, well, it's still a city. It's bigger than Vevey, but the mentality is a little more rural. It's in the Gruyere, when you have the Swiss cheese, that's where it comes from. So a lot of cows, etc. And I opened there because I met somebody who was interested in opening a co-working space. And in the end, I think, and that's my reality, because I like the people and I like to build up the community, it's not easy to manage 2 sites. And
3 hours away is pretty far. It's not like you can go every day.
It's half an hour. Half an hour.
Oh, half an hour. Okay.
Half an hour. No.
Half an hour is fine. 3 hours is...
No. Half an hour is fine. But it's true that at the beginning, when I started the WorkHub, I thought, maybe one day I'll do, a big group and I have a lot of spaces around, etc. But what I realize is what I like best in co-working is talking to people. And if I end up having a chain of co-working, I'll be managing admin and not talking to people, and I cannot replicate myself 10 times. So now I've decided that I'm not going to open anymore. I'm going to concentrate on the 2. And even if I had to redo it, I'm not sure, and the people from Bulle don't listen to it, but I'm not sure if I would open 2 because of the burden and of the way I run my business, which makes it difficult to replicate. But that's me personally, because I also know, we know some chains that work well with a lot of things, because it's a different mindset and a different business plan.
No, it's great because you got aware that what you like in co-working in your job isn't so much to duplicate the spaces, which is great. But it's to talk with the member, to be there with the members. And if you're busy working with a team, which can be amazing too, you cannot do that. So you have to make a choice.
Yeah. And for me, the choice is really I'd prefer have only 1 space or 2 spaces, a lower, maybe not, that big of a business, but at least if there's something that's impactful and where I still get to talk to people and have time to talk to people. Because if I had 10 spaces, then you have 10 times more problems on the admin side, on whatever side, and then you have no more time to just sit at the cafeteria in the morning and talk to your coworkers. So that's why I like it.
It's really nice to get aware of what you like in your job, so you can increase that and prioritize it over the tasks.
Yeah, exactly.
So in 2017, you start the co-working space. Then 2 years after, you open a second one?
Yeah.
Yes. And then there's lockdowns and the COVID crisis, etc., you do as you can, and then it's reversed with opening again and going back to business as usual, or was it different and before all the lockdowns?
Well, it's quite funny because I have those two sites, and I'm going to concentrate maybe on the Vevey site, which is my biggest site. It's because the location I started at had some burdens that I had to change. And I had a move planned of my co-working space in March 2020. So basically, I moved my co-working space, I moved location right after the lockdown. So, I mean, the lockdown was on the 16th, in Switzerland was on the 16th of March. That's when the schools closed. And we moved the space on the 19th. So it was like moving a co-working space in dead streets, like there was nobody. The movers were still working, but they were telling me, well, maybe you are our last move. We don't know what's going to happen. It was very early stage.
Yeah.
And then I was moving from a 100 square meter space to a 500 square meter space on a time when nobody was going to come. So it was a little harsh, but I was lucky.
Scary.
Yeah. But I was lucky for two reasons. One is my landlord, and we were talking about it before, a big multinational, was comprehensive and was happy to help me with the rent for the few, have an arrangement on the rent on the first month. And then the other thing is because we had a lot of space and because the lockdown in Switzerland was not as strict as in other countries, people were still allowed to go to co-working space. Co-working space were never forced to shut down in Switzerland. So except for the first month, I would say, when people weren't sure what to. Quite after, I had quite a lot of people coming in and new people, because there was a lot of people that could not work from home anymore and that could not go to their own office. And the lucky part is because we had a lot of space, we could, there was those social distancing.
Yes,
we could maintain the social
and
distancing.
The glass.
I never had glass in my space, but
no.
But
you had enough surface.
I had enough space so that people could be. And the funny thing is, my business really raised up, and I would
during
never
the
know.
Lockdowns.
Yes, so I would never know if it was because of I moved location or because of COVID, but probably a combination of both factors. And because of the lockdown and because people had no social life, co-working started to be their social base, because maintaining, even with the social distancing, etc., you could still have coffee with somebody, which you could not anywhere else because you're stuck at home. So
it became special.
Yeah. So really during 2020, 2021, we grew the community and people started to know each other during those weird times, but we could maintain something. And that's really where it got the community to grow. And if I look now, how is the community? People tend to be it's not less bounded, but because you have your social life again.
You have other things.
The co-working is less important. It's still important, but we got back into a working space with a bit of social, because that's where we put our focus on community. But I noticed that people are not less interested, but they have less time. They have so many other opportunities. You can go out to theater, you can go to the movies, you can go out with your friends, you can go out to restaurants, you can do anything. Normal life, exactly. So in a normal life, you don't spend every day with your colleagues. At least that's what I have here.
Yeah.
Well, I remember on my first year, I think it was 2015 in Brussels on the European co-working, there was a guy from the US that was saying that within his co-working space, people would go and have pizza and go to the movies and have beers almost every day. And I was like, and in my mind, I thought, they don't have a life? I mean, so
way of doing things.
Yeah.
Surely, yeah.
So basically, in that sense, for us, the COVID situation helped developing the co-working model, I think, really. Switzerland, we're not the quickest people on earth, right? So it takes a lot of time to make changes. And at least people were forced to change. So it helped.
Yeah, I guess one of the silver lining of all those lockdowns is that co-working and remote working got mainstream for a bit of time, even though I would say it's not really remote work, it's working under quarantine,
Yeah.
but remote work helped a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the silver lining. And so yeah, that was during the lockdowns. You
Yeah.
got all those good experience actually.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think, okay, there's a crisis, you should increase your investment
Yeah.
in the building in your case.
Right.
It really paid off.
Probably, I mean, if I had to choose during the lockdown that I had to move, maybe I would not have moved, but the move was planned. And
Yes.
I'm an optimistic person. So I thought, okay, let's go and things will happen. And that's what happened in the sense that it helped us to move on. And then in Vevey, then we moved again a year and a half ago to another building. For some reason, the building we were in was temporary, meant to be destroyed at some point, and then we had another opportunity. So now we moved into another building in which I hope we can stay for the next 10 years.
Okay, so you made a long-term choice.
Yes.
Yes, I
Yeah.
hear. So that was what was before. Right now, you say you said something interesting that you try to focus on the social part of
Yeah.
the co-working as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's again, people are here to work. And I think
Yeah.
that's one thing we have not to forget because looking and see what is co-working. And I said, well, it's not only coding people that are drinking coffee and talking all the day. It's professional people that are working. But it's true. Sometimes people have that in their mind that the ping pong table, like, no, it's professional that are working and that are looking for a working environment. But we tend to keep the human links. And for us at the WorkHub, the way we maintain the human links, I mean, first of all, it's as always in a co-working is coffee. So the coffee machine is kind of a crucial point in the WorkHub because that's where people meet. And
It's a key
now
location.
that I have a little more time, then, when you start your company and you have a lot of to do, and now it's
Yeah.
working a little more. So I have a little to stay in 10 at the cafeteria and just stay there and have coffee. And then I see all my coworkers and then I have time to talk to them. And then we can discuss little words over coffee. And that's important. So the coffee is one point. And then we have events that are, easy events, I would say. Like we have breakfast once a month. So sometimes we have croissant. Like now we're talking with January. We had, how is it called in English? I'm not sure if it's happening, but the galette des rois is
I don't know in English either.
it's the
on
pie
the 6th
that
of
you get on the
January.
6th of January when the kings like brought stuff to Jesus, and now it's you have a pie, and then you have and you become the king. So we have that as well. At Easter, we have an Easter egg hunting within the co-working space. So I put eggs all around, and people are running around to get eggs.
So for the coworkers, not
Yes.
only for their kids, but for
What?
the adults too.
Only adults, no kids.
Only adults.
I mean,
Okay.
last year we did it and it was so fun. And, people had to pick one thing and then bring it. And then they couldn't bring many things at one go. And they always had to come back and then made a little video, like a, quick video. And it was so fun. And people were like, well, we're all big kids in the end. And,
We are.
and that's what I noticed. And we do also the advent calendar. Like every day we have a drawing to get somebody
Christmas, yes.
to get a present. We have the Christmas dinner. We have drinks once a month. And then on a weekly basis, we have a shared shell lunch every Thursdays. And it's either the soup or the salad. And people who wants to participate, they just bring in any ingredients for the soup or the salad in the kitchen before 10 o'clock. And then we will cook the soup or cook a big salad in soup for the winter, salad for the summer. And then we eat all together. So
That's
it's
nice.
using those things that make the interactions. You have some very, coworkers that are always here, and sometimes people that are never here. And then you have the one that sometimes come and that's it. Yeah, I've noted it down and it fits. It's also fitting the agenda, fitting the day you're at the co-working and fitting we were talking the agenda that are pretty full. We have very busy lives in the sense that if you want to see your friends, if you want to take care of your family, if you want to have some cultural aspects, sporting aspects, whatever, you hardly have time to do other things. So it's finding the right way to have exchange. But what I've noticed is in within the space, over lunch, it works pretty well because everybody has to have a lunch break. So
That's the easiest.
exactly. So we have a game lunch. So we take our games and we play. And I get back to being kids. I think we adults are all kids and have a kids part somewhere that relates to your childhood. They're always, at the egg hunting or playing some games. People like it.
It's a nice break. We were saying before that we sit all day, we have some mental fatigue, but not so much physical if you work at the desk.
Yes.
It's good to do things where you stand up, when you move, when you do some kind of manual work, if I could say. It changes the pace and the energy in you. So it's a great break.
We always tried to have a group of joggers, but never really worked. But we have a group of, again, it's like the soup, it's almost only ladies. I'm not sure why, but we have a group of, our space is really located at 1 minute walk away from the lake. So we have swim in the lake the whole year round. So even now in winter, when the lake is 7 degrees, we are a group of swimmers. Yeah, and we go swim. And we now have one man who joined us, but mainly it was only women because we're way more courageous, right?
Yeah, I heard it's a tradition in the Netherlands. First day of the year, they go into the sea to swim. I always look at them like, oh, we'll never do that. But I see.
And it's really good. I mean, the cold water, there are a lot of scientific proofs for your mental health, for your body, for the physical health, that you're less sick, etc. So apparently it's good. And the nice thing is because we go as a group apart. I mean, we walk. Yes. I mean, it's 1 minute, but where we go, it's 10 minutes walk because we go to a little beach. We walk there and we have a little chatting session. We chat in the lake, we chat outside, and it's really that part of exchanges that makes it almost easy.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's what it is today.
Yeah.
Do you have some future plans, things you want to invest? A bigger space? I don't know.
No, I mean, I'm pretty happy at the moment. In Vevey, there is half a bit of the building that's still empty. And that I don't have the demand and I don't have to take it. So I think I'm pretty happy with the space I have at the moment, with the community I have. And in terms of figures, it works. So I'm not seeing myself expanding. And it's the same in Bulle. I think we are now a right size for what we do. So what I'm focusing more on is keeping on the community alive, making sure people are happy to be here, making sure people are willing to stay, and making sure we have these interactions, and then, of course, getting a few more new customers. Because what I say, and people forget it sometimes, is what we offer. And here in Vevey, we offer a great office space, view on the lake. Not a lot of companies have that. And you also, and it's where emphasis, it's the social interaction. And I really think co-working should be the one alternative to home office, because also there is a lot of back to the office. A lot of companies that have a back to the office policy that is pretty strict, and that is for me totally ununderstandable. But I can understand if you are alone at home, and then you have the solitude, and you have and what we all together as a co-working, and I'm part of Coworking Switzerland, what we want to push forward is to say, the near home office, and really co-working has the near home office, which is not only for people that are independent, etc., but also for companies to put that into their strategy to say, okay, I have, I don't know, like 5 employees that live like an hour away, and rather than them commuting every day, to work it out of a co-working space, and maybe the 5 people from the same company work on the same day. And then they can meet, or they can even rent a day office for those people. And then they avoid all the traffic, or at least the commuting. And then they're still working in a professional environment. So I think
they don't have to be at home because they have to. They have a choice.
Yes, exactly. So I think the near home office for me, I've always 10 years ago when I started, I got students to make me a survey, calling companies to ask them if they would be ready to leave their employees in a new home office. So we had to make them understand what is co-working and the concept, etc. Now it's a little different, but a lot of time I don't hear companies talking about it yet. And I think it's a cost issue, but in the end, they should look a little brighter, especially when we're talking about, I'm not sure how it is in Europe, but in Switzerland, we have this talent war. It's hard to get good employees. So if you want to keep them and get them, co-working or near home office is one of the solutions for me. I'm defending what I'm selling, right? But I really believe in it.
You're preaching to your church, and same here.
Yeah.
I also believe you should be flexible. So not have only your main office, but also have your main office, have a network of offices, like you say, near home office, like some co-working spaces or other shapes, I don't know. And then the home office. And you should support your employee to work from all of them. Those who live nearby the main office, maybe they like to go to the main office every day. Maybe some, they come only 2 days a week or 3 days a week or 4 days or just 1 day a week. But if they live far away or they might prefer another setting, they might go to a co-working space even for half a day or whole day. And you don't have to think, yeah, but I have all those desks in my office, which are half empty all the time because people are at home or somewhere, and you can have a smaller main office for everybody who likes to go to the main office, and then the network or co-working spaces, and then the home office for those who like to be home or have to be home times to times, because when you have to manage your family, sometimes the commute is just a lot. So we're believers. So
yes, well, one day it will happen.
Yeah, but I like that trend of saying, okay, it's not just freelancer or startup, young companies that go to co-working. It's also SMBs who might benefit from a co-working space because it might cost them less, having a few desks a week and having their employees or working from the co-working space or from the home office. Or if they have employees on the road, then they know they can go to the co-working to settle down a bit in between their travels. So it's also a financial decision, and no bigger
I'm not
company
quite sure.
even.
On the financial part, I'm not sure that it's cheaper, but a package. And I have a company that is here. They told me it's not cheaper for us to be here than to have our own offices. But at least we have a one package. We don't pay extra. It's all included. We have the conference rooms that are depending on our needs, and it's good for us to be here. So the financial is one part, but I really think it's more when you think on the employees' benefits. And if you can offer them to work near home, then I think it's a big benefit. And nowadays, a lot of companies still think about home office because it's cheap. Because in the end, you get your people to work from their own home, so it doesn't really cost you anything. But it's not ideal in terms of mental health, in terms of working environment. It has to do that. It's good, at least in Switzerland.
No, I think it's everywhere, but at least people don't know about remote work, they know about co-working, and they see the pros and cons, and they can make a decision, not just 100% the office or 100% home.
Yeah, exactly.
We're coming slowly to an end, but before we finish, is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I mean, half hour. I mean, it feels to me that we've been talking. That's what happens when you're passionate about the subject. But I think people who are listening to us are people that have been trying co-working spaces. I hope so. If I really would push you to try it, if you're a boss of a company, think about how different you can make for your employees. Think about how you can close to their home in a professional environment. Think about co-working as an alternative. And I really think co-working is the future for a lot of companies.
Yes. I'm dreaming sometimes of having co-working and co-living, even in small villages, and to have a real rural exode. So out of the city, still many people in the city, but maybe some more in smaller towns or villages, and having work more, having the population density more distributed.
Yeah.
But that's another story.
But it's good to dream.
Thank you. I like it too. Thank you so much for being here with us today. If people want to know more about what you're doing and about the WorkHub, how can they contact you?
So what I'm doing, it's on LinkedIn. My name is Melanie Burnier, Burnier. And the WorkHub is www.theworkhub.ch or .com. And then you have our website.
Both.
Yeah, I have both.
Oh,
I
nice.
think I still have both. I have to check.
I'm going to check.
And do like the swimming and the food and the drinking coffee. And you think on Instagram, you don't think we work, but then on LinkedIn, we also have a page. So feel free to connect with us. Any question, feel free to contact me. I'll be happy to answer. Thanks, Fanny, for having me today.
You're very welcome. Thank you and see you soon.
Yeah, bye.
Bye bye.